Good morning, Napa Valley. Lee Miller and Desi Capaz coming at you with the background music. Love that music. How's everybody doing out there in Radio Land? I'm Lee Miller.
I'm Desi Capaz.
And this is the Lee and Desi Real Estate Show. We are realtors. In case you didn't know that, we are realtors with Heritage Sotheby's right here in Napa. And our show is sponsored by People's Home Equity, dedicated to the simple goal of helping Americans achieve the dream of responsible home ownership. And you can reach People's Home Equity at 707-819-0854.
I'm glad you got the memo of that.
Yeah, I got the memo.
I was waiting there. I was like thinking, okay, is he going to go with it? So great, you got the memo. So listen. Also, you can contact us, and I know I'm nailing the table here, and it's actually vibrating here probably on the air, killing everybody's.
We don't want to knock on the.
So easy to do. I love doing that.
Right.
But you can also reach us in different ways. You can get us on our email at leeanddesi@gmail.com, or visit our website at www.leeanddesi.com, or on Twitter at leeanddesi. Very many ways to reach us,
yes.
And it all has to do with Lee and Desi.
Yep, there is a theme there.
So what happened this weekend? What did you do, and did you have fun?
I started the weekend Saturday with chores around the house, and then I went and saw Danny Click and the Hell Yeahs perform at the wonderful nightclub Silos.
Oh, nice.
That was kind of fun on Saturday evening. And then Sunday I moved my daughter and grandchildren into their new house.
Oh, so you kicked them out.
Yeah, they were just living with us temporarily until they settled in. And
right.
They're going to be much happier in their place.
Oh, good.
So yeah.
I'm sure they will.
I saw you at an event on Facebook.
So, yeah, I was a good friend of ours, Hilda Hensley from Benchmark Mortgage. She has every year, and I love it. And I now I can't wait for next year. It's just because it's the Cuban festival kind of for myself, but it's called Havana Nights. And she has it at her. It's like a client appreciation party, and she puts it out every year, and it's at her house, and it's just put together wonderfully. She gets a band, of course, and she gets an authentic Cuban cigar roller. So he sits there rolling cigars for the night. You're able to just get right up there and grab one, smoke one, enjoy it. Bocce ball is in the back. Then the authentic food comes out. It's like a buffet style, and I can't wait for next year. I brought home food myself.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, it looked fun online.
Yeah, it was a good time, and it's a lot of it is the real estate industry, and then of course her clients and so forth. But she section of town where she lives is just beautiful. You have vineyards all in that area, and the views are just breathtaking. So it's a nice little evening, and like I said, that's my only chance to eat my Cuban food. So
right.
So I'm there. There's just no doubt about it.
Definitely. Well, it's good to be back here in the studio. We missed last week because we were at the Pathway Home Golf Tournament.
That's right.
And that is something that realtors in general support quite well. And I was the co-chair of that event this year, and probably will be next year. And I'm happy to report that we exceeded last year by a pretty sizable margin.
Nice.
Dorothy Salmon, the chairman of the board for the Pathway Home, reported that we raised $70,000.
That's amazing.
At that golf tournament.
That's amazing.
It's really a great cause, and I was happy to be a part of it.
Right. Well, it is a great cause. How we feel really deep about the Pathway Home. Those veterans that come back need the help, and this is a great way to help them transition into society, and also help their PTSD if they do have it. it also it affects families. PTSD does affect not just the person, but the families.
Yeah.
So this is a great way to, if you're in the community and you hear about the pathway home, it's a good way to give back.
Yeah.
So that's great, and it also was a fun event too, right? It was
a lot of fun.
We had a blast.
Didn't play very high caliber golf, but.
When do you play high caliber ball?
I know. I just have to say that every single time. But we do have some more events coming up.
Yes.
Things that we want to make sure that our listeners are aware of. Tomorrow, all day long, from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m., just go grab something to eat at Hop Creek. Mm-hmm. And 20% of the proceeds from all of the dining all day long goes to Canine Guardians, a wonderful organization that trains and then donates service dogs to veterans. So at Hop Creek, if you want to get a bite to eat, that would certainly help them.
And Hop Creek, I have to say, is a great place. It's a fun atmosphere. Your typical neighborhood pub and food and just fun.
Yeah, it kind of has that Cheers
yes.
feeling.
It is. It does.
Yeah, there's a bunch of 25-year-olds right now going, what's he talking about, Cheers?
Yeah, right. Norm.
Yeah, who's Norm? Who's Cliff?
Yeah, that's great. Well, and also, too, is that the next event we have coming up is the gala.
Is it gala or gala? I don't know. As long
Good
as
question.
you show up.
Potato.
Right. So, October 14th at Riesling Hall at the fairgrounds on 3rd Street is going to be a great event. This is a chance for not just realtors, but the entire community. The realtors are putting on this great event, and it's $100 for all you can drink and all you can eat and all you can dance.
I mean, that is amazing.
So, even if it was $33 each.
Yeah.
But most people are probably going to divide those percentages a little bit differently. But $100 for all you can eat, all you can drink, and all you can dance is just and it's going to go to Norbar Charities. And let me explain that. Desi and I are both on the council for the Napa chapter of Norbar Association of Realtors, and we're typically donating to the Pathway Home, the Food Bank, the Table, Voices. Those are some of the charities. But the only reason that we are saying that the funds are going to Norbar Charities is because if we identify it any more specifically than that, then it's finite. And we don't know how much we're going to raise for this event, so we keep it generic, but it's probably going to be those. We just can't put anything in writing. And so hopefully that doesn't deter anyone from attending the event because it's being generic.
We are a nonprofit organization.
Yeah, we are a licensed 501c3
That's right.
nonprofit organization.
So this will go to good causes.
Hopefully people are putting that on their calendars as we speak, October 14th at 5:30 p.m. So
that'll be good. That'll be really fun. Yeah. I can't wait to see everybody in action that night.
Yeah. And, it's optional, but you're supposed to come as your favorite Hollywood star or come as the star you are.
Yeah, that's right.
And I
don't have the hair for Leonardo DiCaprio. I would actually come as him, but I don't have that hairstyle.
Right.
That's just the best hairstyle ever.
And do you come as your favorite star or the one that you most resemble? That would be easier.
Yeah.
Antonio Banderas.
Yeah. You or me?
No, that would be
yeah.
you.
Oh, yeah, right. I don't know about that.
Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
Yeah. All right, we have another star on the line, though, too, is... I don't know what he looks like. What does Martine look like? Martine, what do you look like?
Yeah, what celebrity do you resemble?
That's all you had for us.
No one.
Martin Yutako, the branch manager of People's Home Equity, joining us on the Lee and Desi Real Estate Show. And he is his own star.
Yes, he is. He is
That's
his own
right.
star.
How are you gents doing this morning?
We are doing splendidly. Yourself?
I'm doing good. Just a little shaken up with the news that I heard about Las Vegas. So thoughts and prayers
Yes.
to all the people or any loved ones out there that have family in Las Vegas. And God bless our law enforcement and our first responders for doing such a wonderful job taking care of people out there.
Yeah, it's a very sad and tragic event, senseless and horrific. These are the words that come to my head, and I just don't I don't believe somebody is capable of doing something like this, but I guess they are. But again, we come together as a country, and like you said, the first responders and all that did a wonderful job, the cops and everything else. So
yeah, they saved a lot of people. I mean, the numbers could have been greater than what they are. I think the last I heard it was 58.
That's
people
what I
have
heard.
lost their lives.
And over 500 injured. 500 injured.
Yeah, that's a lot
just,
of ammo.
That is. I mean, that's amazing. That one person with an automatic gun can. It boggles me.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and just to plan it all out too.
Yeah.
So it's something that was really planned. So.
Yeah. Well, switching gears here, and not to, I just didn't want to take most of your time, but what are the rates, or what are you looking at this week? And I've noticed a little bit of an up and down kind of in the past few days. I see 4, and then maybe it drops down to like 3 and 3 3/4. I mean, what are you looking at?
Yeah, well, the Dow was up 65 basis points today. The bonds are kind of flat, so when the bonds are flat, you're not going to see a lot of rates changing. But the Federal Reserve did make an announcement where they're going to reduce purchasing mortgage-backed securities. So once they start tapering off, I think it was in the 4.5 trillion balance sheet, they're going to start making cuts. And when they start doing that, then the 10-year bond's going to go up.
Take off, yeah.
And if the 10-year bond goes up, interest rates are going to rise. So, I mean, historically, the interest rates are still low, but if there's buyers out there that are, thinking about getting into the market, right now is the time.
Right.
Do it before the rates do increase.
I mean, just tell us, what does 1/4% mean to the average buyer? I mean, does it, what do their monthly payments look like? Say, they're paying, they want to pay $3,000 a month, for their mortgage. What is it going to look like if there's a 1/4% increase?
Like 1/4% could really change. Like 1/4 to like half can change someone from qualifying for a loan. It depends on the purchase price and it depends on the loan amount, but your payments can go up anywhere from like $200 to $300 a month.
Right.
So I mean, it's definitely a big increase if it does take place.
And in Napa, it's my understanding that 1/4% increase impacts the affordability index of a home buyer to the tune of about $40,000, maybe even $50,000 for the average home price here.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
I think that's probably easier to grasp than the monthly payment, but to understand that, hey, that house you were looking at, you can no longer afford that house. You have to find something $40,000 to $50,000 less expensive. So
that's correct. Yeah, I mean, rates can really make a huge impact on qualifying for a loan, or if it's in your budget or not when the payments increase.
Yeah. Well, Martin, it's always a pleasure to have you on and have you share some of your insight and wisdom, and we thank you for the sensitivity that you showed by bringing up the Las Vegas incident today.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for your time.
Sure. Martin Yutako from People's Home Equity. You can reach him at 707-819-0854. a former Marine, and once a Marine, always a Marine.
Oh, yes. That is for sure.
Yeah.
Going back to, what's happened in Vegas. Yeah, we definitely, our thoughts and prayers are with those victims and families that experienced this tragedy. My head's spinning over this type of how this could happen.
Right.
And I know the talk is going, is coming up. We're going to see it now. I mean, we're going to definitely see it now. The talk on gun control,
right? And
that debate's going to heat up once again. But for the most part, one person, and what we're hearing is that they're not linked to any kind of terrorist group or anything of that nature. Which I know ISIS did try to take.
Credit for it.
Credit for it. They try to claim it, but it's not to the nature of the police enforcement. They've looked into the story, and it's not true. So this one person, 64-year-old man, decides to take an automatic weapon and take down over 500 people.
Yeah,
that's just
beyond comprehension.
Right. So, it's a sad story today. One of the biggest massacres in this country.
It's the
biggest in history.
Yeah. And I happen to know the Clark County coroner. Just saw a Facebook post 2 days ago with he and his daughter at another concert. Fortunately, not this one. And I can't even imagine. I've been in the Clark County coroner's office in the morgue, and to have 58 bodies in there is just.
Oh my gosh, that has to take a lot to have. That's a tough job.
Yeah.
In other words.
Yeah, it really is, and those who work in that industry are used to it to a certain extent, but they're not used to something like this. They're used to car accidents or people who die in their homes and things of that nature. But something like this,
right.
Even though you're very acclimated to those circumstances, this has got to be very difficult on them.
Right. Well, and what we know is that he does reside in the area, Mesquite, Nevada. So, big gun state, but he was able to somehow get these rifles into the hotel, which that's another talk that they're speaking about. How does a hotel, look for these things? Where didn't somebody see these rifles come into the hotel? Well, that's going to be more talk this week. Obviously, we're going to all talk about that. But this is Las Vegas we're talking about, too. This is a destination in the world destination. You come here to relax, to forget your worries, forget your job, and have fun. And now you're going to have to put security in now?
No, that's...
this is going to be...
And there's so many people that are carrying in Nevada, and people can bring your rifles into a hotel room because you don't want to leave them in the car. So I can't imagine that's going to change. But yes, you are correct. It will be discussed and it will be suggested, and the debate goes on.
Right. More talk is going to be. But again, our thoughts and prayers and our hearts are with those families today.
One thing we did want to bring up, there's a hot topic going around Napa right now, the Napa water rate increase. And boy, there's a lot of energy about this. So we want to make sure that our listeners are aware that there is a public hearing on November 7th. So you have plenty of time to schedule that. It's at 6:30 p.m. at City Hall. If you don't know where City Hall is, that's 955 School Street. So November 7th at 6:30 p.m. But in the meantime, if you oppose this water rate increase, there's an opportunity. Even if you don't want to go or can't attend the hearing, you can send in in essence, a petition form. And we need to put that on our website so that people can just print that off, mail it in, and it just says, I oppose, and you sign it, put your address, and mail it in. And your voice will be heard via the U.S. Postal Service. So,
right. No, good idea. We'll put that on our website. It's a PDF, and you can simply just print it out and sign your name to it and put your address and send it in. And that's a great way to voice your opinion on the water rates. Now, there's two sides to the coin here, and they're wondering, well, there's another increase because I believe there was one 2 years ago. We did have the drought where we decreased our usage here as a community.
It was pounded into us so much to decrease, and as a result, the revenues are down.
Right, and revenue. Well, right, and that's why the increase is initiated because there has been low revenue. So, but a lot of people want to know where this money is going.
As we should.
Yeah, they want there's transparency to be played here, and that's where it's going. So they're going, well, where is it going to water quality, or is it going to something else, possibly labor or retirement funds and so forth.
And continuing to maintain the infrastructure of the water system, so there's all of those things matter, and they're all important, but there has to be a correct balance of all of those things. And I suppose that's what we're going to hear at the public hearing. We're going to hear a lot more.
I think so. If you ever have the app next door, and I know you do, and I do myself, that's a great way to kind of keep in tune with the community. That was a very sensitive subject just recently, and I know Rachel Clark, a good friend of ours, she just had all she did was really just put the link to the newspaper article about the water increase, and it just blew up from there. It's amazing how everybody just kind of tuned in and wanted to know why this was happening, or some were saying, well, this is a good thing because we are supporting water quality, and that's what we need in this community because the water quality has been lacking somewhat.
Right.
So
but nobody's anti-water quality.
Sure.
That's just ridiculous.
Well, it's an overused resource, a very cheap overused resource, which in the future is going to be, we may be lacking in.
Sure. And
so we're trying to find different ways. So we do have to take care of it. We take it for granted for sure. The water is the world is covered with 2/3 water, but regardless, we for some reason we're not there yet as far as producing more of it for us. So
I found it interesting reading some of the comments on Nextdoor that Rachel started, and that was great that she did that. That some people are paying like $150 a month, or over $300 every 2 months.
Yeah,
and I live in a duplex, and we have one water bill that we share with my daughter next door, and we're paying $70 every 2 months. So it's like $1 a day to us. Of course, we did rip out all of our grass, and we planted, drought-resistant vegetation and things of that nature. But we still do laundry, and we still bathe, we still wash dishes, and all of that. So
Well, and you had your daughter and grandchildren for a while there, so they used that was extra people in the house.
Sure.
So that's still not a bad price, and we're one of the lowest in the state for water rates. So let's come back to the next hour and talk about, or next half hour, should I say, and talk about more about the water increase, and we have other subjects to talk about, but we got to get to break there, Lee. We got to pay the bills.
Yes, we do.
So we'll be right back with the Lee and Desi Real Estate Show.
Welcome back to the Lee and Desi Real Estate Show. This is Mark Davis playing the music and Nicholas Miller on the drum.
I love it.
I forgot the name of the song, but I got to look that up. It's on our website, though.
Yes, it is on our website.
He graciously lets us use
tongue.
that music for our show.
Very true.
And it is time for this day in history. And in 1780, on this day in history, a 31-year-old British major, John Andre, is hanged as a spy by the U.S. military forces in New York. And who might you suppose was John Andre collaborating with?
James Bond.
Good guess. Good guess. Benedict Arnold.
Oh.
And Benedict Arnold fled the country on a British warship, and we only had John Andre. And John Andre said, I was just an accomplice. He was much worse. Can you please execute me via firing squad as opposed to...
Please make this quick.
Yeah. Because it was considered to be a more gentlemanly way to die by firing squad than by being hanged. And George Washington was going to consider that, but when he found out that Benedict Arnold had escaped, he said, nope, you will be hanged. And that took place on this day in history in 1780. But on a much better note, Bob Gibson struck out 17 in a World Series game in 1968. And on this day in history in 1971, Rod Stewart earns his first number one hit with, what song do you think? You weren't even born yet.
What year was it again?
71.
Oh. That was the year I was born, but it probably not late in the year in December, but it probably happened before then.
Yeah, it was Maggie May.
Maggie May, but hey, great song, and I remember it, and it was played in my household as a young kid.
Yeah.
I do remember those things.
Yes.
I don't remember yesterday, but I remember those days.
Right.
Oh, awesome. Well, that's some great this day in history.
Yeah, no, not real estate related this week, but that's what happened on this day in history.
No, that's okay. That doesn't have to totally be real estate related. We are a show.
We are a show, yes, we are.
We're going to throw zingers at you.
I'm really excited to talk about this next subject because I don't know, I do a lot of research on this. So we're going to talk about driverless cars and the impact that that's going to have on real estate. And if you are a student of this subject as much as I am, you probably know this stuff. But for those who don't, it is going to impact real estate. Of course, not overnight, but the research that I've done, every single automaker in the world is going to have at least partially self-driving vehicles within the next 2 years.
Right.
Now, that's not to say that they're going to cease making manually driven vehicles, but auto driving, at least on a partial basis, in the next 2 years, full automated driving within the next 3 to 5 years from every single automaker. And so you think, well, okay, that's great, but how is that going to impact real estate?
Well, for one, you could sit with your client and have a discussion in the car with them without having to deal with where you're going.
Well, that's for one.
I could tell you so many times you're just sitting there and you're like trying to have a good discussion, but you're trying to, get to the right place, right? Yeah. So you're like, wait a minute, and and you're trying to talk with them. So
there's several ways that this is going to reshape real estate. So think about all the parking garages. They're all downtown, right?
Right.
That's the most expensive real estate there is.
Exactly.
And it has to be downtown because that's where all the commerce is. That's where the people are. But if there's going to be an app on your phone and you get out of your car and tell it to go park itself, I'm not sure how it's going to work exactly yet, but
car,
something
park yourself.
Yeah, something along those. Kit. you know.
Yeah. Okay, exactly. Yes, sir.
There's no reason to have the parking garages downtown in the most expensive real estate. Just send that car a mile or two outside of downtown, leverage the lesser expensive real estate, and redevelop those parking garages into something else.
Yeah, that is one.
Yeah, and I know that City Council's talking about doing a garage, another parking garage in downtown, and they're talking about it now, which means best case they won't break ground on it for another 2 years probably.
They were saying 2019, right?
Yeah. Well, not for the parking garage downtown.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, so that's what I'm saying. So if our city leaders are talking about adding a parking garage downtown, they're just talking about it right now.
Right, they're just in them.
So by the time they get all the funding, get all the construction bids, and so on and so forth, it's going to be 2 years before they even break ground. And it's going to be another year or two before it's done. Well, by that time, we're going to have driverless cars. Not a plethora of them, but we're going to have them. And so I, for one, will stand up right here and now. You witnessed it. I say we should not build another parking garage downtown. We could leverage much less expensive real estate because it won't be done for 4 years anyway. So there, I said it. Okay?
That's well, and you have some good foresight. I mean, that is something that we can look, in the future and say that it will impact real estate. Now, let's talk about this. What's is it going to impact it in a positive way or in a negative way? Now, the positive way is that, yeah, sure, we can go ahead and have real estate downtown open up a little bit more, not have to worry about parking garages, and then use that for other space or office space or retail space or whatever you want, or even residents. But let's look at the negative. Possibly fewer home sales. Now, why would there be fewer home sales? This is an interesting point.
Yeah, I see the point for that because the elderly, typically when they can't drive anymore, they're forced to sell their home and relocate to a place that provide assisted living facilities where transportation is provided for them. And if they have a self-driving car, then perhaps they can stay in their homes longer, and therefore there would be fewer transactions. But I see that as more of a minor thing. But I could be wrong on that.
Well, I mean, there's like even today's real estate, the baby boomers and so forth are staying in their homes longer. And that's why we're causing this, not surplus. I wish there was a surplus of inventory, but a shortage of inventory. So this would just only give them another reason to stay in their home, and I could see. I mean, it's a very legitimate point that the older folks really don't want to have to go because let's think about it, right? Let's get in that mindset. Some will want to go to these communities of like retirement homes and so forth, and that's fun, right? It depends on which one it is. I mean, if you're going to one that has all these exclusive
Del Webs with all the activities, and all that.
You're going to go, okay, yeah, I'll do that. That's great. But really, it's a time of your life where it's like if you're headed in that direction, that's it. You're calling it, it's done in a couple more, maybe another decade or so, and that's it. It's done. Your life is done. So, staying in your home maybe gives you a little bit more power. That's what I'm trying to get at. Sure. That's my point. It's like, well, no, my life isn't done yet. I'm staying in my house. I got a driverless car. I don't have to drive anymore. You can take my license. Yeah. And I'm going to sit here in my house. It's paid off. And I'm going to just live out my life.
Yeah. Maybe take a reverse mortgage on it.
There you go. There's Tom. Tom, if you're listening, that was for you, buddy. Exactly.
Now, of course, we're not talking imminent, but we just talked about, and by the way, you're listening to Lee and Desi Real Estate Show, and we're talking about the impacts of driverless cars on the real estate market. Every car manufacturer is going to have some sort of driverless cars within the next 2 to 3 years. But what we're talking about is probably more 15 to 20 years from now, when they're generally accepted and, say, 30-40% of the vehicles on the road are driverless. That's really when this is going to happen. But one of the other things that's going to come about is, why do we need a garage? Although one could argue the percentage of people who actually park their vehicles in their garage now is so low because we all have so much junk.
Well, yeah. You know what? If I have to get rid of stuff to open up my garage to put my car in there, I will. Me and my wife are big advocates of garages. I mean, we feel that the car belongs in the garage. Yeah. That's where it belongs, and I totally support that. I mean, you can save. So you could save the deteriation of
you're
of
protecting
the inside,
that asset.
And you're protecting it at the same time. So, but yes, why would you need it? I mean, who knows? We may be able to fold it up into a suitcase like the Jetsons.
No, come on. I haven't read any of that just yet.
Right.
It's probably more like 100 years, but whatever.
yeah. That's there's some time there, but
I'm looking forward to a driverless car.
Well, and you know,
in my lifetime, but not.
And it will, it will, because I mean, if you think about it, think about the visionaries of the 50s, especially Disney and stuff. You know, you go to Disney World, and even back in the 70s, 80s, 90s, you know, you go still to this day, you go to the Tomorrowland and to the future, and they had all these. And you know, when they came out in the well, at least Disney World came out in the 70s. You know, you were able to see their vision of the future, and a lot of it was what we have now with the smartphone or the smart. I mean, I have a smart oven.
Right.
I never thought in my wildest dreams, a smart oven where I can get on my phone and literally like right from here and turn it on, and by the time I get home, it's on, it's preheated, and all I have to do is pop in my food. I don't have to wait for that 15-minute preheating, part of it anymore. I just go ahead and do that now. Same thing with our HVAC and air conditioning. You know, when we're coming down the street, it's like, hey, let's put on our AC so we can get it cool in there. You know, these things were thought of back in the day when again 50s, 60s, 70s, that they were just kind of playing and throwing this idea out there. Well, they've been throwing out the idea of the car for the longest time, where it was going to be flying first. So I thought the car maybe be flying. Now, actually, it's going to start being driverless first, which is great.
Right.
But it's going to happen. It's going to happen in the next 20 years.
My sisters promised me that by the time, and they're only 3 and 4 years older than me.
Right.
But they said by the time I'm ready to get my license, cars will fly. And I've had my license for a while now.
Well, that is something, because that's a whole nother infrastructure that you got to deal with. Sure. So that just I mean, could we have a flying car now? Absolutely, probably so. I'm sure they're somehow, some way they've been working at it in Area 51 somewhere. I don't know. Anyway, but that's
a whole different show.
But you have to think about the highway in the sky kind of thing. People crashing, and you just die. You don't live through those crashes. Right. You know what I mean? So there's probably a lot of different stuff. But driverless, yeah. I mean, and another positive kind of. And that's, we're doing the pros and cons of this, but, I would say another thing would be transportation costs kind of goes down and how it relates to real estate would be construction cost.
Sure.
So you take out the element of drivers and labor as far as getting the construction material to the homes. Well, you can just have some kind of driverless car, just zip it, back and forth for you, and you just eliminate that labor cost now.
And I don't. Do you know that Budweiser has already done an 18-wheeler through Pennsylvania, full of beer, driverless?
See, that's amazing.
So that's the kind of stuff that when I start reading on this, they're testing this stuff all over
right
now today.
Right.
18-wheelers, not just like some goofy-looking little domed car.
And 18-wheelers, mind you, that doesn't have a driver behind the wheel that may fall asleep.
Exactly. So from a safety standpoint, it's going to be much better. But yeah, the lower construction cost because you're eliminating some labor, and also the outline. You know, people don't want to commute; they want to get as close to where they work as possible because nobody likes to drive in bumper-to-bumper traffic. Well, what if you're not driving? Mm-hmm. What if you're just sitting there reading a book or listening to a podcast or doing whatever you can and want to do in your vehicle? Well, that's going to change the scope of the real estate market in so much as I don't care if I have a 45 or 60-minute commute because it's not stressing me out. So,
well, do you think maybe, and really thinking deep into this, would you think maybe the automobile makers will now have to go and develop a different business plan and to the way their business is going to be run, because maybe now the consumer doesn't need to buy a car at all.
Oh, yeah.
At all. All you do is you got the app on your phone or on wherever, on the side of your inside of the wall of your home, and you just punch it up, and and you just say, I need a car here in 5 minutes. One comes right in front of you. No driver, no nothing. Just driverless because, that's where we are and all those cars. So maybe it's in their best interest to try to purchase Ubers and Lyft.
But why would they even need Uber and Lyft?
That's why Tesla is looking into, what is it, Lyft, if I'm not mistaken. I think.
Had not heard that.
Yeah. So it's something in the future that they may just cling on to, that where, you literally just from your phone or whatever, the car comes to you and you are off and running. So more money in the consumer's pocket, because now you're not leasing, you're not owning, and you're not renting. You're just maybe you're paying for whatever service that's going to cost you. You know.
So that should that be private enterprise or should that be municipalities? Municipalities purchase 1,000 vehicles and they service the city's needs, and everybody just shares those vehicles. That could be a revenue-generating opportunity for the municipality or private enterprise. Who knows which one that will be?
Well, it definitely is going to, impact our daily lives, and again, more money put into the consumer's pocket means that, well, then, you go back to the fewer home sales, maybe to the older generation, but the younger generation will have that money to use toward purchasing homes. And we all know how expensive it could be nowadays, so this is just another way to... Now, maybe there's going to be a different way where, city taxes, or, they're going to have to find ways to, well, now we have to make sure safety is going to be the number one issue. We have to keep the infrastructure in place, so they're going to have to raise taxes.
Why?
Just to make sure these types, especially at the very beginning when we're not good at this yet, because we're not going to be good at it yet.
That's why I share that there have been dozens and dozens of experimental driverless vehicles that have traversed states without incident. There was one incident. It was a freak thing where the reflection of the vehicle and the sun, it caused a collision because the warning system didn't see a vehicle approaching, or some. I don't remember the details about that, but that's another issue as far as auto insurance. I'm not driving.
Sure.
Why should I be paying auto
responsible,
insurance? Right? So what's that going to do to the auto insurance industry? What's it going to do to the collision repair business if the rate of collisions plummets 85-90%?
Right.
Yeah, you're still going to have a ding here and there, but again, we're talking about 25 years from now, when it's really commonplace, not, imminent. But there will be, within the next 3 to 5 years, driverless cars on the road.
Well, and it's not going to happen tomorrow or the next day or next month or next year. But again, it's going to happen, and it's going to happen very quickly. I can tell you that. It just, overnight, once somebody has it down, the law is put into place for it to happen, then it just explodes.
Oh, yeah.
So it does happen overnight. We just don't know when. But for the most part, it's going to – maybe it'll create, the urban areas will start exploding again. Maybe forget the living in the suburbs. That's probably a two-sided coin right there, because if you live in the suburbs, yeah, let's live in the suburbs, nice house, whatever, and I don't have to pay for gas anymore, going back and forth. I have this service that comes in front of my house, picks me up, takes me to work.
Right.
So that could, definitely create that kind of frenzy. But then at the same time, stay in the city, and now you don't have to worry about, taxis, or maybe traffic control is a lot better now. Now maybe there's not much traffic because the cars are so much smarter. They're not creating decisive.
You're not having that one driver that's I'm going to make this light.
Yeah.
It should just be.
Or I'm
smoother.
Scared and I don't want to drive past.
The other side.
Right. So you have a constant speed.
Right.
So
and theoretically, because you're leveraging the intelligence of the technology, everybody can be closer together. Mm-hmm. You don't have to have that one car length for every 10 miles per hour kind of thing. So,
well, interesting subject, and I'm glad you brought it up. And it's always going to be exciting to see what's going to happen in the future. But we're running out of time here, buddy. I can sit here and talk about it all day, really.
Yeah, no,
I think
is.
I think ESPN wouldn't mind. Yeah, right. I know Larry would mind.
Yeah. Here comes Will running at us right now. Yeah. No, you guys can't do that.
So for the most part, I just want to remind everybody they can contact us through email at leeanddesi@gmail.com, or go on our website, leeanddesi.com, Twitter at leeanddesi. Those are the different ways. Give us some suggestions to talk about. We want to talk about the community and the community affairs. That's what we're here for, and also real estate, of course. But we want to talk about those issues that are affecting our community today. So please give us suggestions and comments, and we would love to hear from you. Got anything to say there, Lee?
You can reach us at leeanddesi@gmail.com. And leeanddesi.com, and at leeanddesi on Twitter. Mm-hmm. And check out our website. Let us know what you think.
Well, this is another great addition to our show. We'll see you next Monday at 11 a.m. here on 1440 a.m. And this is the Lee and Desi Real Estate Show. So long, Lee.
Signing off.